Hi, it's John from North Star Nursery Garden and Home, your coastal gardener. So today I wanted to talk to you about camellias because I know it's always hard to kind of hold in your frame when things come in. And it's difficult because a lot of the growers plan everything for release right before things are looking really good so that you'll buy them more quickly, hopefully. So camellias are starting to come in. They're starting to bud. Some of them, certain varieties, sasanquas, are starting to bloom now. This is a variety called Yuletide. It's a great single red, blooms this time of year, thus the name Yuletide. It is a Camellia sasanqua. Sasanqua camellias are smaller leaved, and smaller flowers, traditionally more single flowers, not doubles. Now, for those of you who like more double flowers, we do have some of those also. They are what we would call a Camellia japonica, okay? These are the large flowering varieties. These buds are ginormous on this one. I brought it in just to show you. This variety is called Kramer's Supreme. Kramer's Supreme is a nice big pink double. Okay, so it's a really traditional camellia in its look, heavy petal count, usually yellow pollen in the middle, and they usually bloom earlier in spring. So right now this is setting its buds, and it'll bloom later on when spring starts. So that is Kramer's Supreme. Also we have, not all of the 1 gallons have buds. This one is called High Fragrance. Now High Fragrance, it's a tall erect form, pink peony-form flowers, of course, with a fragrance. What I did, and I'm not sure, this is actually High Fragrance right here. Oh, that red one is a different one. Let's see if I can scan over. Other way. Thank you, David. It's hard to do it upside down. This is High Fragrance. So it's a nice double pink. It can either have a somewhat flat center like that, or it can have a nice full center like the other image. The Kramer's Supreme, technology. I think that's Kramer's Supreme. No, the Kramer's Supreme is red. Sorry, guys. It's that one. Are we having fun yet? So this bigger guy, some of these names, because they are Japanese hybrids, have really, really fun names that I'm probably going to butcher. So this is Camellia japonica Kujaku Tsubaki. So this is a peacock camellia. This one has, I think it's a really neat flower. It's not probably for everyone. It hangs down, kind of like a fuchsia does, and it's red and white. And so, let's see, thought I had it in here. Oh no, I don't have it. Okay, single flower, kind of like the Yuletide, but it hangs down and it's red and white. So something different. If you're looking for something different in a camellia, this is definitely one to choose. And then this guy over here, this is Camellia Koto na Kaori. No, I'm not doing that very well, but this is an 8-footer, gets quite large, single, 2-inch rose pink flowers, and that's it. So right now, definitely some camellias on hand. We will get more camellias probably in February from Oregon. So these are the camellias that we have from our local growers, local being in California. So this is what we have for now, but we will get more in later on. So I believe they're coming in 3-gallon and 5-gallon sizes. What I also wanted to talk to you about is camellia care. So Yuletide or any of the Sasanqua varieties, the smaller leaf, smaller flowers that usually bloom this time of year, you would start doing your pruning and cleanup on these guys after they're done blooming. So you're going to want to look at pruning and cleaning up probably in April or May, well, February, March, April probably is when would be a good time. These guys are going to bloom later spring, so as soon as they're done blooming, then you could start looking at cutting them back also if you needed to shape them for whatever reason. Camellias by nature kind of have an irregular habit when they're young, and eventually they'll get kind of into a groove, you might call it, and be more shrubby. You can encourage it in that direction by tipping it back and telling it no in certain directions so it starts to fill out. So don't be afraid to do that. Just make sure you do it after they're done blooming because you don't want to cut off a lot of the old wood. If you do that, you're going to cut off flowers. So camellias bloom off of old wood. So keep that in mind. The other thing is I wanted to talk about some of the challenges with camellias. Not to spin the negative, but things happen. And so sometimes they will get things like scale, which is bumpy black nodules along the stem traditionally. They look like little tiny abalone shells almost all along the stem. Scale is usually brought in by ants. So if you see a lot of ants present in your shrubs or in your garden, watch them and see where they're going and see what they might be carrying to you. This is the horticultural oil. This is what we use for scale. You spray once a week for 3 weeks, making sure that you have a dry 24 hours afterwards. Sometimes, very rarely, sometimes in the spring when we have rains and warm, you'll get something on here called Entomosporium leaf spot. It is just a brown spot on the leaf with kind of a yellow halo. That is just, unfortunately, something that happens. It's not going to kill the plant. It is more unsightly than detrimental. So, but if you wanted to control that, you would do that with the copper fungicide. Again, spraying once a week for 3 weeks. Now, if you have leaves on your camellia and you think that they don't look good or you think something's wrong, investigate it. And then what I would say is if you don't find anything really obvious, remove the damaged leaves so that you can get a gauge for whether it's a repeating problem or not. Traditionally, if the new growth is not showing that problem, then it's not a current problem, it's an old problem. And a lot of times what will happen is older leaves will start to yellow and get spotty and drop off. People then think that that is something that's wrong. Not always the case. But if you clean them out and kind of keep your eye on it, you'll be able to keep your eye open for actual problems. When you do have if you have any problems, some of the things that do happen with the camellias is that they can get a blossom blight where the flowers just drop off. They don't even get to open. If you're having problems with flowers not opening and dropping off, that usually means that there's a blight in the soil. Now, I didn't grab, there's a product that we sell called, you know what, hold on a second. I'm going to go grab it. I can't do it without the bottle. Let's see here. Okay, it's called Garden Foss. And it's one of the only actual chemicals that I carry. And I carry it because it's a systemic fungicide. So this works for rhododendrons that are having blight issues and for camellias that are having blight issues. This would also work as a systemic fungicide for things like roses and stuff like that. If you had a big, we don't usually have a big problem with fungus with roses. I mean, we get some rust and some black spot, but it's not a big deal. So this is what you would use to actually correct any blossom blight that you have on camellias. Also, fertilization. Let's see here. My table is too big. So, of course, the very first one, if you're just going to come in and buy something, the azalea, camellia, and gardenia food would be a great option. You could do it now, and then you could do it again after it's done blooming, and then I would do a third one probably in the fall or late summer. And basically, if it's 1 to 2 feet tall, you're going to use a third to a half a cup. So that's this one here. If you don't have that at home, but you do have rose and flower food, and your camellias are in the ground, this would work very well also because our soil is naturally acidic, and camellias like the acidic soil. And so this would still give it the fertilizer it needs, and our natural soil would be acid. If you have them in pots, you definitely want to go this route because pots don't usually have the ability to kind of like modify their acidic range, and that will help do that. Also, if you just have all-purpose fertilizer and you don't have anything else, that works also. What I always say is something is better than nothing, okay? So fertilize your plants in order to get better blossoms. I wanted to also just point out that the hellebores are starting to bloom. They're so pretty. So I just grabbed this one. We have some 1 gallons out there. We have 2 gallons, but they are all starting to crack buds. Also, I wanted to point out we have some really, really gorgeous cyclamen right now. These are 6-inch pots. These are from Gaddis. This great purple, nice white ones. If you want to go true Christmas, the red's really great. These do really, really well. Kind of under an eave, by the porch, by the front door. Morning sun, afternoon shade is fine. They don't always like being out in the exposed where they're going to get frosted, you know, from the cold like this morning. It was very chilly. So protect them from frost if you want them to bloom longer and look better. I think that's it. I hope you guys are doing really well. It's been really, really cold. So make sure you bundle up and take care of yourselves. And we look forward to seeing you at the nursery.